Christos Anesti, welcome back to another Pearls of Wisdom interview. Today we have the pleasure and honour to have with us our fellow parishioner and author, Mrs. Helen Lakatos. Welcome.
Thank you, Lakatos. Thanks for having me here.
No worries, our pleasure. So Helen, can you please share with us what inspired you to write your book, Izzy the Jerusalem Donkey, the Mark of the Cross, and why you wrote it for young children?
Okay, it wasn't just one idea that came to my head or one reason. I've grown up with my yayadas, mainly my yaya Lenny, telling me lots of stories as a child, and I've always been interested in history, theology, mythology even, and I've read lots of books as a kid. My mother would have to turn the light off at night so I could go to sleep. So I decided that it'd be nice for children to start reading books again. And having come back from one of my pilgrimages last year, I just put, I'd like to say pen to paper, but it was basically fingers to keyboard, and I just started typing out a story about a donkey. Donkeys are everywhere in Jerusalem. They're in most of our Bible stories. And I thought, how nice would it be for a child to read about a Bible story through the eyes of an animal, an innocent animal, because kids love animals.
Yeah.
They're humble, they're innocent, and just to be able to tell a story through the eyes of a little donkey, the kids could probably relate to it a bit better than just hearing maybe even just the gospel on a Sunday. So I tried to blend in as much information as I could from the gospel stories relating to Izzy, the Palm Sunday donkey, and make it interesting for the kids.
Could you please show us the book and go into a little bit more detail what it's about and give us a little bit of a peek?
Okay, as you can see, this is Izzy. He is the Palm Sunday donkey. So it's really his journey with Christ, and it's basically our journey with Christ or our journey in life. So I've based him as a donkey cousin. So we start at Passover and the big feast and the excitement. So his mother is explaining to Izzy what is happening at Passover. So he has his donkey cousins that come along to celebrate. So there's a big hoo-ha about it. They're all going in, they've got important jobs. But because he's the youngest, he gets left behind. And he is the donkey in the prophecy, Zechariah. So he's a very important donkey that is actually, well, he's in all our icons, and he's really the iconic donkey. So this story is through his eyes. So it's about joy, disappointment, learning life's lessons, feeling left out, feeling sadness, depression, and then the joy of the resurrection. So the illustrations are beautifully done by a young lady called Helen, which depicts basically the writing. So I try to be very descriptive in my writing. So it caters for, probably the writing would cater for primary school readers, but then the younger ones could follow along with the illustrations as well. So I've tried to be as descriptive as possible in the writing to give them as much information as possible about the setting. So I've basically set the stage, because I've found as a child, and probably all of us, if you read a book and then go and watch the movie, your version of the movie is what you perceive that you will see is probably different. We all have a good imagination, and they are also able to, once they hear the gospel, especially in English, our kids here in Australia, they'll be able to think back to the descriptions of what it was like back then. So that's the book, really. It's a journey.
Nice. So you have travelled numerous times to the Holy Land. Many people describe the Holy Land as a place that cannot be compared to any other. Often people say that there is a mystical beauty about Jerusalem that impacts their soul forever. Can you please help us to understand that notion a little bit better?
Sure. Okay. My experience personally, I actually went to Jerusalem when I was 10 years old. As I said before, I have always read stories. I have always been told stories by my grandmothers. So for me, it was something that was real, became real, and it never left my mind. For 40 years, 40 years later, I returned with my mother for an Easter, and my five senses just came to life. Walking through the old city, the sounds, the smells, the sights, just your five senses come alive. So that is, I suppose, the mystical part of it. Once you've experienced it, you'll never forget it. And it's the fact that everything that you read, everything that you hear, everything that we come to church for, because we're living everything that happened there, it comes to life. And I would say that's the same for most people, if not all people, that do make the pilgrimage to Jerusalem. Everything comes to life. Every gospel that you hear is alive. It's true. It's well. It's there. It's never changed. It's always there.
I do think it's something that every Christian should experience at least one in their life, one time in their life.
Absolutely. I think it's like the bucket list.
Yeah, 100%.
You should go. Yes.
Yeah. So next question is, how does your involvement in the church life help you as a person? And also, why do you think that it's important to worship God through Byzantine music?
Okay, my involvement with the church. It becomes a family. It keeps me grounded. It is something that I do. It's like brushing your teeth. The church is part of your life. We do, I think, as adults sometimes in our younger days, we do fall off the wagon a little bit. But I think if you've been given that grounding, that understanding, you always come back. And you come back with a reason. Not being forced by your parents to go to church because you must go to church. You come back because you know why you need to be at church. And it grounds you. Regarding Byzantine music, I couldn't understand in my younger years why our services took so long, the ahs and the ees. Now I understand and I appreciate it, and it's something that I think once you start learning, you appreciate it and you understand why we have the music and why our services take so long, because you do get caught up in it, and you're worshipping God with your voice, as you know, we have no instruments, and it all starts to make sense. It's the total picture. It's the whole package.
We would like to get your advice on what you would give to teens and young adults that they say attending church services and Christian fellowships is not necessarily necessary.
I would say keep attending, if not every meeting. Just keep on going, because anything that you pick up at all, anything at all, will come back to help you later on. I see it as an anchor in life. I did attend fellowship as a teenager, and then life took over, and as an adult, I suppose you stop a little bit, or you do stop. But I've found that I drew a lot of strength from things that I learned in fellowship as a young girl. So don't think it's useless, or church for that matter, because everything that you learn, everything that you hear, it's a base, it's a foundation, and you have something to draw on when times are tough. Even if you think that you don't have time to go to church, or your family life or whatever's happening in your life doesn't allow you to be there as part of the church, that's okay, but you have that foundation, and I think it's very important. And I think that's why we find that sometimes, well, not sometimes, but a lot of the times we see a lot of these older people that come to church that may have not have that in their lives, midlife or early adulthood, because they've been given some sort of a grounding somewhere along the way, and it's their anchor. So I really think do what you can, keep on going. If you need to have a break, but just know that you've probably got one of the best foundations, one of the best anchors that one could ever have for life's lessons. We need that, we really do.
And I also think, like I said before, it's like the church is a family. Like it's a very strong sense of community, and it's like the family in Christ here, which is having a strong sense of community, especially nowadays. It's so important, and I feel like things like fellowships and coming to church, they provide that for you.
Absolutely, yeah. They do. There is a lot of loneliness out there too that we just don't realise. Not just loneliness, but we all get caught up in our lives and it becomes very mundane, and you sort of think you're kind of chasing your tail all the time. But break it up. Go meet with like-minded people. Learn from them. We all have things to learn from one another, and we're not all perfect at all by any means. But just by being together under, a common cause, Christ, it's our salvation really, and we're helping one another get through life's obstacles. We belong somewhere.
100%. Thanks for that, Helen. So our next question is, what is the best advice you would have given to your teenage self?
Yes, well, don't be in a hurry. Don't be so anxious. Life will happen. Don't need to rush anything. Learn as much as you can, and listen to your parents. They might sound old-fashioned, and you think that everything that's happening in the world is so brand new and it's all hip and happening and they don't know anything. They do, and it's like the old saying, the cliche, like, I look in the mirror and I see my mother. Well, that's exactly what's happening. And even my grandparents, the things that they would say to me, think, oh, they're just so old-fashioned, 2 generations ago. However, I've realised that, and like a lot of us have realised that humanity does not change. It's the environment around us that changes. So we need to stay as human as possible and listen to the elders, listen to your parents, listen to your grandparents. They know exactly what they're talking about.
100%.
Yeah. It's just technology and the things that we use around our lives, that's the difference. But our human essence, the way that we react to things and situations, that will not change.
Another thing we wanted to touch on was resilience. Can you please explain what does it mean to have resilience in difficult circumstances?
As the saying goes, you roll with the punches. That's not an easy question because people react differently to difficult situations. And I think as you mature, you probably find different ways to cope. The church is a big part of coping, it's a sense of belonging, but it's not just belonging and knowing that God's there and God listens to you. It's letting go. It's letting go of your situation and just believing that everything that happens, it's part of your journey and it's for a reason. And we don't know God's plan for us. We really don't. But God knows best. And even if we think that we're not happy with what's happening or, it's the end of the world for us, it's not really. It's just new doors are opening, your life goes on. So you need to be resilient. You need to just, like I said, roll with the punches and just be acceptive of what's happening in your life and be thankful, because you always hear of other stories. You always hear of someone that has a sadder story than you. So it's everyone has problems. There's no one there that hasn't got problems. So it's just a matter of gathering up all your strength, praying for strength, of course, and just getting on with it. You just have to keep on living.
Yeah, it's a bit of a tough question because everything happens for a reason, but sometimes you just don't know what to say.
Yes,
yeah.
Especially if there's I suppose the death of a child or something like that. You can't say to the parent it happened for a reason. Yeah. That's a tough one. Yeah. That's a tough one, and that's something that parents will have to, in that situation, they would have to sort of figure out for themselves. So sometimes we can't say certain things to certain people either. Yeah. It's a personal thing, and I think it's something that comes with growth, maturity. Maybe sometimes people might not get over their trauma, but you have to keep on living. You have to keep on living and be thankful for what you have.
100%. Yeah. If you were to explain in simple terms, like to a child, what would you describe? Like, what is prayer?
Prayer. Okay, we can go into the lengthy explanation of having prayer books, which is helpful because it's a guide, it's a tool. But I think for a young child, it's just teaching them to thank God. Thank God for everything they have. Even if they're just, riding their bike, I would say they could probably be thankful for the beautiful day and the flowers that they see along the way. when you go to bed at night. Thank God for your day. Thank God for mummy and daddy. Thank God that you had a nice dinner. And I think they're just the little things that you can teach kids, just on the smaller side of prayer. And as they get older, of course, they'll start reading different prayers. But I think even as adults, we pray unceasingly, and that's the secret to prayer, I think, praying unceasingly. And maybe kids actually pray better than us. Maybe we're the ones that pick up the books and read words that, we're in a hurry to read. Maybe if it comes from the heart and it's just a few simple words like children do, maybe that's the way too.
For sure. I also think we always have to remember that prayer is communication with God, communication with Banaya and His saints, like actually communicating with Him when we pray. So yeah, always have that in our minds.
Absolutely,
sure.
In our own words, not someone else's words. And I think at times of difficulty, when I say Banaya Mufemo, that's a prayer. That's and that's probably how children pray.
Yeah, no, sure.
Yeah.
So one thing I wanted to touch on was faith. What does faith mean to you?
Faith, to me, it means that I have left everything to God. That's what faith means to me. And people say blind faith is blind, blind faith. It is, and it's something that we really can't, touch and show and have hardcore evidence for people as the atheists need. It is something that's in you, it's something that you feel, and it's your connection with God. And it's something that you build on as well. And I think with different life experiences, you realise that your believing in God, your faith, it seems to grow with every obstacle that comes into your life or my life. My faith has grown, and it's something that keeps on growing. But I think that's something that you can't force on people, and it's something that people have to experience for themselves. But once you do put your faith in God, into your Creator, you will realise that they're there. God's there, everything's there. He's there for us all the time. We just don't see it. So it's just something that's in you, and something that you have to draw on, and something that you can help grow by letting yourself go. Just put your faith in God. That's what faith is to me. Put your faith in God, because I'm not alone, and I can't do this on my own.
Well said. Yeah. Just back on being an author. Are you planning in the future to write another book, and would you ever consider writing one for an older audience like adults?
I don't know how I'd go with the adults, but I do have another book that should be out just before Christmas. It's a bit of a prequel actually, and I have something else in the pipeline as well, which would relate to children and their joy, expression of thankfulness to God, and just to make them a bit more aware of the environment, I suppose. But that's in the pipeline. So yes, I am planning on writing more books. As far as adults go, I don't know if I could quite hit the mark with the adult. I think that the critics would really be out there. I don't know if I could do pretty pictures for the adults.
Oh, we look forward to it anyway.
Thank you. Yeah, well, just hope I can deliver.
Nah. So to conclude this interview, we've got one last question. Can you please tell us one wish you have for humanity? What would you like to ask from God?
Sounds like a beauty pageant, but peace. Peace, and just awareness of one another. I would wish that people would just be aware of other people's situations, especially homelessness. There's a lot out there, and we're just oblivious. I think we're all living in our own little boxes, ticking all our, this is good, that's great, my kids are great, they're doing footy, they're doing this, they're doing that, I've got my food in my fridge, I work, I'm good. But there's so much out there that we don't know. So many people are suffering, and they don't have what we have. They don't have peace in their lives or in their countries, or so So that would be my wish, for some solution to all this upheaval in the world and this hunger and homelessness, because there's just the distinction between first world countries and third world countries is just ridiculous. It shouldn't be. And even in first world countries, what we have here in Australia and America, it's just wrong. It's just wrong, and there's enough to go around. So we just need to be more aware. We need peace. We just need to come together as one people, really, as just accepting of one another's situations and helping one another.
So that concludes today's interview. Thank you so much, Helen, for your time and for giving us your wisdom. And I'm sure we all took so much pearls of wisdom out of that talk. And we just got a small gift for you. And we really look forward to your future books. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. God bless you all.
Thank you so much. I hope you guys enjoyed the interview as much as I did. We have plenty more Pearls of Wisdom interviews planned for the future. I hope to see you guys there. Christ is risen.